Hi there, my name is Robert Murphy, and this year I will be talking about 7 brain-friendly tactics that will bring on student autonomy. Now, why do we want to have student autonomy in the classroom? Autonomy means where we have the students capable of working on their own, filling the gaps that we as teachers wouldn't even be aware of. Okay, these magical, mystical things start happening once students gain this autonomy. Now, why is that? Well, a lot of it is due to ownership, feelings of ownership. If a student doesn't really feel ownership of the material, the student doesn't feel ownership of any of the content of the lesson, where is that going in the brain? Perhaps literally it's going in one ear and going out the other. Well, at my session, I'll be talking about 7 tactics to bring on wonderful ownership. And one of them is what I call the Trinity of Assessment. What is this about? Well, often in classrooms, maybe we have a test at the end of a chapter, or we have a final exam. How much learning goes on after the fact, though? How much learning goes on once you give the test back? Now, I remember when I was a student, a teacher would give me a test back. I would look at the score and maybe throw the test out. I wouldn't have any other learning beyond what I had pre-studied, what I studied before the test. Well, if we incorporate what I call the Trinity of Assessment, and that is where the teacher, the professional assessment, comes in, and say a student is working on a presentation or a student is working on an essay, the teacher gives proper professional assessment. Yes, of course, we can expect that in just about any classroom. However, we also have 2 more here. The one over here is self-assessment, where we have the student actually sit down and think about their work using a criteria that you have settled with the student. Okay. So they have these rubrics to work on, and then they self-assess. Now think about it. This is really important to get students to realize where their own gaps lie. Right? And at the same time, with the same criteria, they're doing peer-to-peer assessment. So student A is now assessing student B's presentation or student B's essay. Now, this will inform this assessment later on, which of course becomes informed by the teacher's assessment. So we have this wonderful relationship that goes around and around in many different ways. Okay, this is what I call the Trinity of Assessment. If you can bring all 3 of these types of assessment into your classroom for all the major sections, okay, of the syllabus, you can bring on major ownership and autonomy with your students. And again, magical things start to happen once we start seeing that autonomy and ownership kick in. So this is one thing that I'll be talking about in more detail, the Trinity of Assessment. Now, another thing is, student-designed tests. Now, it may sound crazy, but believe me, it works. Now, you don't have to have the students design the final exam. That might be going overboard. But say you have 3 to 4 quizzes or small tests within your syllabus that you can allow the students to have freedom, designing on their own, and then maybe promoting their designs and having a vote in the classroom. So which group created the best test, okay? And actually administer that test in the next lesson. Okay, so everybody has to study from that. Now think about the type of ownership that comes into play here. Think about the type of autonomy that comes into play here. The students have to come up with test design that satisfies, the rubric and all these requirements, and it has to be voted as the best one by their peers. Okay, so there's a lot of interesting pressure going on, but the sneaky thing about it is, as they are designing these tests, they are relearning the content. They have to look at the content and decide what to put on the test, what not to put on the test, and how to design an interesting test with that content, okay? So again, all these magical things start happening when students start designing their own tests, promoting their own tests, and voting for the best test. And they actually take the test the next week, okay? Again, I will be talking about this in more depth at my session. Now, the final thing I want to talk about in this video, okay, is again, student-designed master lists. What is this? Well, there is probably too much top-down teaching in the world. We know this, right? There's got to be a lot more bottom-up, where the students get to choose what they want to study and how they, and they're allowed to plan how they study, right? All this top-down, robotic-type rote memorization was good for perhaps when the Industrial Revolution was going on and people had to master and memorize everything that was in the technical manual to get some piece of machinery to run. Now, we know language does not work that way. And as language teachers, along with the student-designed testing, why not have student-designed master lists? Now, what this is the students make a list of words, make a list of phrases, make a list of grammar points that they think are important and matching the content that we happen to be on. And the teacher also provides their ideas. I think, well, maybe you should learn this vocabulary. Maybe you should learn these vocabulary points. Maybe you should learn these grammar points. But I don't, as a teacher, I wouldn't mandate this. I wouldn't say, you have to do all this, okay? So then the student, it's up to them. They look at their list, they look at my list, my potential list, and they put it all together, and they create a master list, okay? And they use this to write their next essay. They use this to do their next presentation. Yeah, a lot of bottom-up learning going on here. Very similar to the student-designed test, but significantly different, isn't it? They work hand in hand, but they are different. Again, at my session, I'll be talking about this. Now, I will actually be talking about 7 brain-friendly tactics, and I only gave you maybe 3 and hinted at another 4th one, okay? I hope to see you at my session, and I also have a workshop about syllabus design, okay? If you have any questions from this video or maybe even after the conference, please send me an email. The email address should be listed below here. Okay? Hope to see you soon. Bye.